Good evening, folks. It's Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, Magnetic Reversal News, Sacred Geography, and Shinrin-yoku, bringing you a grand solar minimum update Thursday, March 30th, around 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time 2023. You're looking at one of the largest landslides in recent years. This is in Alusi in Ecuador, near the Andes. It buried 50 buildings. Dozens of people are missing, and it's a developing story, but not the biggest one. The big story is California storm adds monumental seasonal snow totals, shattering all-time records. More than 30 atmospheric rivers have deluged the West Coast since November. Keep calm. It's boom time. Record snowfall buries California. Earlier this week, 20 inches fell in 24 hours in Mammoth. And some of these communities, well, have never seen snow like this. Take a look. These are people trying to prevent a home from collapsing, simply taking 10 feet of snow off the roof. And the pictures are epic. This is the tops of the condominiums. Look at that at Mammoth Lakes. Absolutely amazing that people are even trying to drive in these conditions. People making their way down a road lined with snowfall piled up from multiple storms. This is just the other day. This is yesterday. Look at these. They're like little hobbit holes. And in fact, the mainstream media is trying to poo-poo. Look at this. Mammoth Mountain seasonal snowfall tops 700 inches, breaking the record that's stood since 2010. This record-breaking snow is all-time now. This is the highest snowpack ever recorded in the Sierras ever. And more snow is coming this week. And how they are going to obfuscate from the truth. Shut up, Al! Get in your hole! No bundt cake! See? It's like they're all connected. Winter storm warning issued for the Wasatch. Advisory extended to Utah valleys. Hey, did you know that Utah also has the largest snowpack in recorded history, and it's snowing again? I wonder what that means. Winter storm alerts in effect with rounds of snow, ice, and rain towards the weekend. This is the northern plains, and 2 snowfall events, a foot or more, are happening in the next 8 days. And on top of that, we have record cold breaking across the U.S. In the last 24 hours, we have over 1,000 record cold destinations. And with temperatures like that, of course there's going to be snow. Here's the full forecast. Severe thunderstorms forecast for portions of the plains, Mississippi Valley, and the Mid-South. Intense and widespread severe thunderstorms are expected Friday afternoon into the overnight hours across parts of the middle Mississippi Valley and Mid-South vicinity. You can see here where those flood warnings are up in green. This includes the lower Ohio and Tennessee valleys as well. Strong and damaging wind gusts are forecast along several strong tornadoes as well could be possible. Here are the red flag warnings. It's been blowing like a mofo right here in Archuleta County, which doesn't have a pink, we don't have pink. But blizzard warnings and watches are out in 3 states and dozens of counties for this quick-moving storm that's going to be moving through the northern plains. Farther north, heavy snow and blizzard conditions possible in the upper Midwest, according to the forecast. We do have a severe weather threat that looks like it could be popping up here early next week, Monday, for the southeast, so take heed. Here is the snow system. It's going to bomb out in 6 hours. You can see that power. And there will be some mixing there, so you're going to see some sleet and freezing rain before it bombs out Saturday here. Wow. Heavy snow in the forecast as it quickly moves out and away through the northeast. And that's when the next system comes into the west. That's going to be starting to trickle in here this weekend, Saturday, and then it's going to move down the coast, and it's going to be lingering moisture for days, and will finally end on Wednesday as the second system that moves through the northern plains, well, adds insult to injury. And then that's when we have a severe weather threat of epic proportions in the south here, starting Wednesday, April 5th. Here we see April 6th, April 7th, And so we have a severe weather threat that will be ongoing beginning early next week. So Stay tuned for more boom. Now, let's take a look at the snowfall totals. Here is the snow through tomorrow, Friday, into Saturday morning. That system's going to be starting moving through the northern plains. Heavy snow through Wisconsin, northern Mich, potentially in parts of southern Canada there, with a modest amount moving down the Sierras and in the Rockies. That's going to start to increase here Saturday. Holy macaroni into Sunday morning. Heavy snow through the Cascades. A foot or more for most of the high elevations. And take a look at the snow totals eventually in Wisconsin here. It could be 4 feet of snow for northern Wis. The Northeast picking up a substantial amount through the end of the weekend. Take a look at that. It's going to be looking like 7 to 10 inches for most of the ski resorts in Vermont, New Hampshire, and the Adirondacks. And if we move the models through here early next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, that second system crushes the northern plains. South Dakota specifically with a huge portion with 3 foot to 4 foot of snow moving through there. So that could be a record-breaking event. And if we move the models forward, there is a considerable amount of snow for the Northeast and the rest of the country through mid-April. So stay tuned for more forecasts. And the cold isn't exclusively in North America. One of Israel's coldest Marches ever is lingering, but slowly makes way for spring. Ding, ding. And Auckland records the top 5 coldest March nights since 1965 as the chilly snap continues in the southern hemisphere and the northern hemisphere. Now, evacuation orders are underway after a freight train derailed and catched fire in Minnesota yesterday. Luckily, today, those evacuation orders have been lifted. But another toxic train derailment and explosion here. We can't make this up in Minnesota. Thanks, Pete Buttigieg. The fire could be seen from nearly everywhere in the town as ethanol was burning, accentuated by the corn syrup on many of the 22 cars that derailed. Absolutely insane. Seismic update. We had a few interesting quakes. We've got a slight uptick here in Yellowstone, but it's normal activity. This is a normal cyclic uptick that happens in that hydrothermal area. So these are not quakes of note. This is normal activity. So don't let the fear mongers get to you. We did have a large quake today due to the coronal hole 6.3 off the coast of Chile. And thankfully, it was off the coast. Many people, it was a shallow quake, didn't feel it. There have been afterquakes. I'm sure they felt it, but it didn't damage any buildings. The buildings are built to strict requirements here in Chile to withstand 7.5, 8 magnitude earthquakes. So good news on the seismic front. As we head over to worldwide volcano news, not much to report on. Chivalush puffing a little stronger than usual, 15,000 feet there. Reventador, some volcanic ash. Fuego, Semaru, and Liwotolo as well. Semaru puffing to 14, Liwotolo to 7. That's pretty normal. Fuego to 5,000. We do have some interesting upticks here. You can see Yasur, more Strombolian activity happening there, probably kicking off that storm cloud. Take a look at this. Santa Huito volcano in Guatemala. Glowing avalanches and volcanic eruptions from the lava dome continue in spectacular fashion. Let's take a look at that. Wow. That is a great shot. Look at that. Wow. Beautiful. And, well, that's Besmiani. We talked about that yesterday. So that is the full 24-hour update. And we're sticking with it. Space weather news update. We did have an X-flare, impulsive, right after the show last night. X1.2 didn't do anything. M5.4, nothing as well. This is an active sunspot region 3256 that is turning over the limb, ending the Earth-facing quiet and blasting off as it turns to the backside, which is good news because we did have a coronal hole coupling with us. Push KP up to 4.5, and you can see that coronal hole coupling with us just about here, and that's going to continue for the next day or so. As goes magnetometer, goes a little bit off the charts here due to the plasma speed increasing. Now let's get to that landslide. A huge landslide buries a city in Ecuador, about a small percentage of the city, but this massive landslide has buried much of the small city of Alusi, or Yeah, Alusi, in Ecuador's Andes Mountains. Nearly a dozen people have died that are known, and at least 60 are unaccounted for.
Well, dozens of people are still missing after a mountainside gave way, burying much of a small city. Weeks of heavy rain led to a landslide on Sunday in Alausi. That's in the Andes Mountains in Ecuador. More than 2 million cubic meters of dirt, mud, and rocks have buried over 50 homes, some up to 3 stories tall. Almost a dozen people were killed, and more than 60 have not been found. People using shovels joined rescuers that were using heavy machinery to look for their loved ones. The landslide is about 500 feet wide and a half-mile long. Some people said that they heard tremors from the mountain before the landslide. At the end of February, officials warned that the rains could cause landslides, and they ordered some evacuations when cracks started to widen.
What a tragic state of affairs in Alausi. I mean, there are 50 buildings here covered in the landslide, and that is going to take months to uncover. The over 60 people that they know are missing, that I'm sure there's far more people dead in this region. So our thoughts and prayers go out to the people in Ecuador tonight. Now, a train carrying an ethanol that we just showed you a minute ago derailed and catch fire, and here's a great picture of that crash. Residents flee in the middle of the night, but they have been allowed to return later today.
Community in limbo this morning in the wake of a train derailment. This time it was Raymond, Minnesota, about 2 hours west of Minneapolis.
We know that dozens of rail cars went off the tracks overnight, forcing residents in that area to flee their homes. Here's Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg.
The most important thing for anyone in the affected area to know is that you've got to pay close attention to any instructions coming from first responders regarding the evacuation or anything else that local officials are telling you. That is for your safety. I've been in touch with the governor already this morning, and while our department doesn't have a direct first responder role, we do have personnel on the ground making sure that we can provide support.
CNN's Gabe Cohen is following this story for us.
Now, why is Pete Buttigieg so damn happy about this, man? This guy is not the guy for the job. Clearly, we see infrastructure failing.
Here's Transportation
at this magnitude, and this D-bag comes on the scene with a big smile, a big grin on his face, and basically saying nothing. Oh, listen to the people that are here. I have no idea what I'm doing. I am just a puppet for the administration. And isn't my $3,000 suit fantastic? What a schmucktard. Okay, let's get to some science to cool my head. Archaeologists studying an enigmatic stone structure in the Saudi Arabian desert have turned up evidence of a Neolithic cultic belief. Now, if you believe archaeologists, well, you haven't obviously watched our channel. Most of them are shills that are conforming to the narrative that they were taught at university. And we've shown these structures on shows for years now. This isn't unique. These structures there are thousands of them all over the Middle East, Syria, Lebanon. You can find them wrapping up the sides of mountainsides and volcanoes. But let's listen to what the archaeologists have to say. The excavations of the enigmatic stone monument in Al-Ula in Saudi Arabia is offering fresh insight into the rituals and cultures of Neolithic era peoples. Now, these structures, the one you're looking at here, that are elongated, typically go uphill and have a huge head, a massive courtyard, and an entrance. Many people speculate that this was for herding animals or animal husbandry or raising cattle or sheep or goats or something like that. And they confirmed it in this study because they found the bones of all the animals I just discussed. Now, these objects are called mustalil. The structure is one of about 1,600 such rectangular monuments that have been recorded across northern Arabia, just like I said. as part of a 5-year project by the University of Western Australia and the Royal Commission for Al Ula. Researchers are studying one particular mustatil, dating back 7,000 years. Now, this is supposedly right at the dawn of agriculture, but these people were herding animals. They were growing animals, for goodness sakes, with large slabs of sandstone encircling a long inner courtyard. Guess what they found? Bones. Yes. Animal remains recovered at the mustatil include cattle. Here's an upper molar and a cattle horn. Who knew? Now you do. It looks like cattle, goats, and gazelles were brought to the site. Yes, and raised like a farmer would potentially do to feed the people that were on Earth. And they were also slaughtered there, which is what you do when you have a farm. You butcher animals. And these people think, man, archaeologists are so stupid, that it's some kind of a cult sacrificing animals because they found a bone next to a stone. I don't know if you ever heard of the term halal. It's a way to sacrifice animals for human consumption that is very humane. You kill them instantly. It's how we slaughter our pigs here at the farm. You cut the neck through and through after you shoot them in the head. It sounds brutal, but if you don't live with a pig, I don't think you understand how you have to kill the animal. And it is humane, in a sense. If I wanted to be taken out, it would be by firing squad, not by electric chair. Trust me, if I had the option. So I think these archaeologists are all way off base. This is clearly an enclosure for animals that they were breeding and then slaughtering to feed humanity 7,000 years ago. More propaganda. Antarctic ocean currents are heading for a collapse, according to the report. And the report says that as CO2 rises, the Antarctic ice sheet is collapsing and it's going to shut down all of the ocean currents in the southern hemisphere. Yeah, because the study published in the Journal of Nature, which is now the biggest shark factory on Earth, also warns the slowdown could reduce ocean ability to absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, based on no such scientific report ever. But the facts are in. Carbon dioxide continues to rise at a particular standard rate year after year. There is no change. It's gone from 360 parts per million back here in 1995 up to 420 parts per million right now, today, and the temperature has been absolutely flat. Well, in fact, the temperature today is just as low. It's lower than it was back in 1995 at one point right there. So you can clearly see on this graph that CO2 has nothing to do with temperature. The temperature goes up and down based on normal climate variability, and the CO2 continues to rise because we are a disgusting species polluting and destroying the earth. But CO2 is plant food. That's not one of the chemicals we care about. The other 100,000 cancer-causing, destroying chemicals to the earth are being disregarded because we want CO2 to be number one. Plant food. I mean, it's complete disinformation. These are the facts. CO2 continues to go up because we burn shit. Plants are getting greener. The earth is greening, according to NASA. But we're all going to die because the temperature is going to rise. I doubt it. Shut up, Al. And that's a boom to knowledge. Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. I hate to say it. But if you want to be prepared, join us at the San Luis Valley Seed Exchange Saturday and Sunday, April 1st and 2nd, and help grow our local food shed so we can survive and thrive in the future when they shut it all down and make a loaf of bread $8,000 We're going to be growing our own wheat. And you know how much bread will cost? Sweat equity. Just a few hours of picking, harvesting, drying, and grinding, and then baking. And the powers that be will be quaking. Hit the thumbs up. Support us on Patreon, where you can watch all of our videos commercial free. And we have a couple teasers coming. We're going to be talking about the Carnian Pluvial event when it rained for 2 million years on Earth. Wow. That's worth a thumbs up, isn't it? Join us in the San Luis Valley this weekend for a really good time where free seeds, free cannabis, and free community equal the biggest boom to knowledge.